All right, welcome to this week's weekly outlook, where every week in the DeFi Dojo, I do a live stream community call and assess the charts in the markets and try to give a little bit of a prediction about what we might be able to expect in the upcoming week. I said I try. Nobody can actually predict these things. However, we can use the charts to increase our probabilities of being correct, as well as use proper risk management in order to keep ourselves safe in case we are wrong. Now, this week, oh, and by the way, this is going to be released to the public, as this is the first weekly outlook of the month. All following weekly outlooks after this is just private for premium members of the DeFi Dojo or to my TA channels in particular. And you can find the links to that in the description of this YouTube video, as well as other links to my socials. All right, so this week I'm starting to see a little bit of some red flags, and we're going to start with the dollar as we usually do. And it's been on this downward trajectory ever since we called the top last year. You can see it finally hit my target at that 0.5, which is what I was looking for quite a number of weeks. And you can see we hovered over it for quite a while until we had a nice big move down, and now it has since started printing green candles. So this is the first warning sign I'm seeing. Now, whether or not this is occurring because people are starting to be a little more risk off, or because the other currencies around the world are heavily falling at the same time, it's kind of like, I'm not real sure. The market certainly hasn't tanked yet. So whether or not this is just a precursor to that, and maybe this is giving us a little bit of a warning beforehand, it could be. So I am starting to become a little more careful. I'm not going to take any risky positions like I have been, where, we've been seeing hundreds of percent on our options plays that we've had over the last couple weeks, which has just been great. However, I have taken profits on most of those, up like 300% so far on my account for the year, so that's amazing. And what I don't want to do is give that money back, right? So I'm going to just kind of lay low this week, I think, and see how things play out, see how red it gets. But I am sort of like 60% thinking we're going to have a red week, 40% maybe not. So the upside is seeming to be a little bit more limited, in my opinion, compared to the pullback that we're kind of anticipating coming, right? So let's see what this does. If we're looking at the daily, the EMAs are now pointed up slightly like this, right? But we kind of had that same situation back here. So maybe we get something like this. Who knows? If we get like a nice big red candle this week on DXY, and we fall back down below trend, then I'm going to change my tune and I'm going to start, becoming a little more risky again. But for now, I want to see what happens here. If we go over to USDT dominance, you can kind of see we have been consolidating down here in this golden pocket. And in order to get that golden pocket, because a couple people have asked me, I'll just erase this and redraw it. But I've just taken the recent uptrend, right? So from this low up to this peak, and that gets me my fib lines. Now, these other fib lines are from the high time frame, and I just leave those on so I can find areas of confluence potentially with them. And if we kind of just zoom in here, you can see how important this 618 is and how important this 0.71 is. And we've spent a lot of time down here. There's also divergence happening on the daily. So, this is pointed downward, and our RSI is pointing upward. So this is showing that the strength is increasing a bit on USDT dominance while the price is falling. And as you know, this is how we found the bottom of Bitcoin, the bottom of the NASDAQ, the bottom of the S&P. This is how we find bottoms and tops. So this is kind of showing me we might be moving upward, which means crypto would move to the downside should this start moving up. Now, whether or not that means we go up and tap the 21 here and hit the 618 again, because you can see they're very close together, and then make another move back down, who knows? But for the meantime, I think this candle for the week is going to be green. you can see if I go to the weekly, how sort of bottomish this is starting to look, right? We got an inside, this is called an inside bar, where the candle here is just staying inside the previous candle, and it's green. So we could see a move back up to the 618. Who knows? We could see a move all the way back to retest the 821 bearish cross finally, right? We haven't had that yet. We haven't had the retest of the weekly cross here. So could get that ugly. Who knows? That's why I'm just going to kind of sit out and see what happens for now with nice profits. So if we move to Bitcoin, we can see there's gaps everywhere. We just created a new one as this candle opened for the new day here. And if I zoom in, you can see that. So this would top at 23,340. Bitcoin would fill that gap should it, even do it at all. Who knows? We are opening underneath the 8 EMA for the first time, right? So here's another red flag. Bitcoin CME opening up under the 8 EMA on the daily. And as you can see, since January 1st, that's the 9th, 6th. So since early January, we have not been under the 8 EMA, and now we are, right? So there's red flag number 2 that I'm seeing. We got the 21 EMA down here, very close to our downtrend line. And if I zoom out, you can see that is our main downtrend, right? And by the way, here's our bearish divergence that we found, or bullish divergence that we found that marked the bottom of Bitcoin, right? We broke out of the wedge. We've been up. So starting to see some weakness, right? You can also see this very nice doji top looking candle a couple days ago on Friday. That might have been Thursday. So right there. So these candles can mark tops and bottoms. So you want to kind of keep an eye out for those. So red flag number 3. If I go to Ethereum, wait, let me go back because maybe I didn't draw something. Yeah, I didn't. I wanted to draw the fibs for you. So I've kind of been trying to make it a point to draw while I'm showing you guys things instead of having it ready. So this way you can learn to do it. So if I just look at this whole structure here, right, what I'm going to do to draw these fibs is I'm going to start at my high point, which is right here, and I'm going to draw down to my low to get my fibs for this range. So here's my top, and I'm going to measure the downtrend down to this bottom candle. And you can see we just barely peeked into the golden pocket here. And so this 618 is very important. And if I zoom in, we did not close a candle above that. So I don't really want to be long again until I see a candle close over 24,120 on the CME chart anyway, right? And then I don't really want to long again until I see the 0.5 or maybe the 21 EMA and downtrend retest again. So we got a lot of space to cover here where this could fall, and I'm not going to be touching it until it hits one of my spots, right? And so that could be 2,200, 22,000 even. Could be the retest down here at 21.5. Either way, these are the areas that I'm going to be looking for if we start falling. If I go to the weekly, we do have a bullish cross on the weekly. This is great news. This is what we want to see, right? However, we don't want to buy in all of this, right? We want to buy the retest. So if you look, we might have another week away from it where the weekly 8 EMA kind of gets real close to that downtrend retest. So again, this is the zone I'm looking for. However, that gap is really close by. So we could get a move all the way back down to fill that gap and then wick back up again, which is very possible. Sometimes these things don't just hit the EMAs perfectly and go back up. They'll fall all the way through them, take out stops, so on and so forth. Might even fill that gap back down to that even 20K mark, right? That all important psychological level. So, that would be more than 10% away, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for. You can also see on the weekly this spinning top candle, right? So I'm just seeing a lot of things that's saying it might be time to start waiting, or if you want to get risky, look for shorts. Keep in mind, when the EMAs are bullish, shorts are hard to come by. So it will not be easy. I would rather prefer waiting for the pullback to long rather than trying to short in a bullish market, at least the current market. I wouldn't want to short until we started failing these levels down here. But that's just me. Some people are riskier than I am. And if you wanted to short, I would say you'd want to keep your stop loss right around the top of the gap, which is like 23,340. So you probably would want to do like 23,6 would probably have to be your stop loss there if you wanted to short. Because if it got past that, then kind of things start becoming invalidated. If we go look at Ethereum, I'm going to show you the same thing. We got a gap down here to the 1467 would be the bottom of the gap. And another thing that is sort of concerning is maybe this entire thing is just a bigger bearish pennant, right? So there's only 2 points, so you can't really count on that too much, but I could bring this back to here, and that's the top line, right? And then we take the bottom, and we kind of do something like that. And so this could just be forming a very large bearish pennant. We have to kind of see. So I'm not really long on Ethereum until we can break that, or once again, come down and retest this gap. So I'm going to get rid of those so it's not too cluttered. And then in order to measure this move, or this range, I would simply take this top to this bottom with my fibs. So I'll do that and show you where we are. And you can see we just got out of the golden pocket and came back down. So for a little bit there, I was thinking we were actually going to test 1750 and hit that 786. And it totally is still possible because unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum is still above the 8 EMA on the daily. And so alts are doing a little bit better than Bitcoin over the last few days. And this is why. So I want to see if Ethereum can get below 1626 and the 8 EMA this week. If it can't, and it maintains support here, then maybe we do make another move up and tap that 786. However, typically when you get a reversal, you will see a sell-off in the golden pocket first, find support down below somewhere, which would make sense because it fills the gap, hits the 0.5, maybe tests trend again, and then makes a second move up in here to reclaim support and then get into our greed and FOMO range. So this is kind of the scenario I'm kind of picturing as kind of a fall, come back up, and then claim again. Now, if we fall and don't come back up and start failing trends, then we got to start looking bearish again. I don't really have a bias with any of this. I just want to read the charts, right? So I don't really care what it does. As long as I can read the situation correctly and take advantage of it, right? At the moment, I'm a little too 50-50 to pick a side. So as a trader, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until I can be more confident, right? There's nothing that says I have to trade all the time. I've done very well so far to start the year, so I don't really need to trade this week. I can not trade at all this week and still be very green for the year, right? So there's no reason to try to force anything if you don't have to. So let's just kind of wait and see. At least that's my perspective. If I go look at total market cap, you can also see we are hitting the downtrend. So this is red flag, I don't know, number 5, right? So we do have a weekly cross. So this is also a great sign. But again, I want to wait for the retest. I don't care if it goes all the way up here and then back down before it retests. I will feel much better on a risk to reward standpoint to buy the retest and keep my stop loss below. Going back to Bitcoin, because these moving averages are now becoming important. Why? So we have 2 situations happening. And I'm going to use the regular Bitcoin chart to show you that. If I just take the whole downtrend here, right? These are my fibs. So we've cleared the 236, right? So that's great. Now, again, there's our downtrend. And on the spot chart, our 8 EMA is lining up very well with it right now. So right around 21.3 currently is the 8 EMA and the downtrend test. So we'll see if that happens. Also, we have the 50-day moving average looking like it's about to cross below the 200-day moving average. This is called a death cross. This is bad news. Actually, this is the weekly, sorry. And this has never happened before. So this is the 50-week moving average crossing below the 200-week moving average. And if I just zoom out and look at all of history here, that's never happened. We've never had that blue line cross below the red one before. And you can go all the way back. You see it came very close here. However, it didn't happen. And that was it. So this is something to keep an eye on. A death cross on the weekly has never happened. I don't know what could happen if that happens, but it's probably not good. And at this point, it looks likely that it will at least cross in some fashion because they are only about $100 apart at the moment. Now, here's the flip side. If we go to the daily, the 50 is about to cross over the 200. This is called a golden cross, and this is a bullish scenario. So this is kind of another reason why I'm 50-50, because the price likes to move towards these crosses when they happen. You can see in previous examples where, for example, if I just go to the weekly and go to previous just other MA crosses, like this one, for example. So you see this cross right here. You can see how we were moving down, and right when these crossed, we get this green candle, right? So it's not going to move all the way to the cross. It just goes towards it in some fashion. So we have a cross happening on the weekly above the price, and we have a cross happening on the daily below the price. So which way does it go, right? So that's another reason why I'm 50-50. It could go up towards the weekly. It could go down towards the daily. I don't know. But it's something to keep an eye on. Bullish on the daily if we get the cross, bearish on the weekly if we get the cross. So they kind of conflict each other. Higher time frames kind of dominate. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'm real iffy on all this. Now let's go to ETH Bitcoin. So this is starting to look like what's called a diamond pattern or a diamond top. This would be bearish at a top and bullish on a bottom. I want to see how it plays out because it has been just sitting in the golden pocket forever. This is still under this downtrend that I'm monitoring, which there's only 2 points, so it's kind of not that reliable. But this is ETH compared to Bitcoin. If ETH is going to take over dominance of Bitcoin in some fashion in the future, it needs to get out of this golden pocket and up to the upside. So until that happens, once again, I'm not really going to be bullish on Ethereum beating out Bitcoin unless I see that happen. Let's look at a couple others. I wanted to let you guys watch this video because this guy is really cool. I've been following him for a while. His name is Jim Dalton. He's kind of the king of volume profile trading. And so if you haven't looked into him yet, I recommend you do. So let's make that full screen. And I think you'll be able to hear this. So let me know if you can't in the chat as this gets started. But he's going to explain ES, which is the SPY or the S&P 500 index.
The early interest last week was the announcement from the FOMC meeting on Wednesday afternoon. Prior to that meeting, we had an inside month. Following the meeting, the market broke to the upside.
Okay.
We had been using the breakout level at 41.41, which
All right,
was
I'm going to just share that video with you guys in the chat then, since you can't hear it. But basically what he's saying is 41.41 was the breakout level. And when we got the news and the data last week, it was really good and we got up over that level. And then when the jobs report came in, it was like, 3 times higher than expected. And so the market came down as a result. So it was kind of like good news is bad news, because if jobs are increasing, then it means that inflation is, or their methods to defeat inflation haven't really been working. So they were kind of hoping for less job numbers, which is kind of counterintuitive. But we did still hold that 41.41 level when we closed. And so that 41.41 level on ES is important. And if we go look at ES now, you can see we just opened under it. right? So we're currently sitting at 41.36. But you can see last week we closed over it at about 41.49. So that 41.41 level is what I'm going to be watching for ES. And we have broken out on the daily, broken the downtrend. All these EMAs are also bullish. And so we could get a pullback back down to the 0.5 here, which is very close to our 8 EMA. And I want to see what happens there. And then I want to see if we can get back over 41.41. If we can close another daily candle over that 41.41 level, then I'll feel more comfortable with the long situation. So this is kind of just another one of those red flags where things look like they could be pulling back. I don't know how bad it'll get. We don't really have a lot of news events this week. I know Biden speaks tomorrow. God knows what he's going to say. There's jobless claims on Thursday, but besides that, there's really no major data events this week. So we could just trade sideways, slightly down. I don't see a whole lot of action this week. So it's just another one of those things that just helps me not want to trade, right? Like, I don't think I'm going to miss anything. Our RSIs and our MACDs are pretty high. So I think we could just consolidate, if not have a pullback. If I go look at the NASDAQ, we did close over that 14-year uptrend, right? But if I take my fibs here and just go from this top to this bottom, we got all the way tapping the 786 pretty much perfectly here, right? And so a pullback here makes sense as well. All of these candles that printed on the daily last week are inside bars, and inside bars bearish at the top, bullish at the bottom. You can look up inside bar pattern on Google if you're not familiar with it. But I think we could get a move back down to the bottom of this golden pocket, 8 EMA, 618, 12392 level. Beyond that, I want to wait and see. But I don't think we're going to go too far, just because there's no real data to be released unless, of course, there's some weird, we're going to war or something. You never know. You can't ever rule that out, especially right now. So I think that ends my outlook. And so this, this pennant's something to watch out for with Ethereum. Bitcoin, we're going to be waiting for the pullback somewhere around the 22,000 to even potentially 20K level again. And we're going to monitor what these crosses of the moving averages do. That's going to be our main focus there. We're also going to be watching the dollar, seeing what happens with this outbreak here, and USDT dominance with this wedge and divergence that's occurring. And you can see we're already kind of breaking out of it now. So, and we're over the 8 EMA. So all of this is pointing to at least some downside of some sort, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to share that Jim Dalton video with you in the chat for all of you premium members. And if anybody has any questions or chart requests, now would be the time to pop those into the chat. If you have any, don't be shy. And I'm going to stop the recording while I do that too. So if anybody wants to join the DeFi Dojo or my premium channels, the links will be in the description. You get 2 weeks free. So I hope to see you there. All right, bye.